I don't know if I could do this in one video, so there may be multiple parts. But this is a singularity. In this example, I just want to, as a design, as just a linear, original thought that will lead to others. It's a depth beyond the surface, but to its own, a surface that will lead to a greater depth, if you are interested. In this example, a repeating pattern of this microcosm, or better yet, this macrocosm, for it itself exists because of an infinity that precedes it. But that's too far, so let's just start here, a singularity, right? Non-duality. The pleroma, or the divine realm or principle or vibration. A black hole, if you will. A dense space collapsed on itself that contains everything, the totality, everything, everywhere, all at once. But in this instance, it is just this material reality, the construct, the third dimension of Yaldabaoth's design. However, this is non-duality. This is a black hole, which exists, right? Take this in. It exists like the truth. It's another symbol. Of its own accord, it does not need non-duality to exist, but because of this singularity. This dimension, this reality, is much like an event horizon, a chaos of light, and a fabric of dimension, a spectrum of vibration, our 3D reality. Yaldabaoth's prison exists. Duality, this chaos of duality, a chaos that is organized by intelligent design, right? It exists only because of the singularity. So the Gnostics in the 4th century were reaching towards something that was revolutionary towards the hierarchy and the imprisoned religious thought patterns that were relying on the control scheme to direct spiritual ascension or awakenings. But to go beyond the Gnostic perception, to see for yourself, even beyond consciousness, for your body and your mind, as much as this contemporary society will not ever accept and deem you insane. Just remember, this is coming from people who believe that they can talk to invisible gods and believe that they must obey laws from this invisible God that were given to someone they never met thousands of years ago, and they have accepted this simply because their ancestors passed it on to them, and they blindly conformed, accepted, and believed it as though it was truth. That's what all of this is. This entire construct is a bending of light that does not exist of its own accord. Yaldabaoth was not a mistake, as the Gnostics say. Yaldabaoth could not exist of its own accord. It was intention for this to be this way. And within each tiny space, in each present moment, is a singularity to its own. The singularity is present, omnipresently, in all of it. And the spark that is in you, even beyond the consciousness, which the construct itself using your own voice, thoughts, feelings, will manipulate and direct you to believe the lie, and in doing so you make it seem to be real. This is the delusion of duality. I cannot even peacefully walk through the memes in the spiritual community of just parroting these ideas, archaic and ancient, as though they are definite answers and solutions, when all they ever were was a compass that was pointing beyond a boundary that people who do not think for themselves or look for themselves, people who do not yearn for gnosis over trusting blindly in belief of external validation, stop at these answers and think they are enlightened, even then not understanding the spectrum of infinity. And the path of enlightenment does not stop at Buddha's seat. It does not stop at a perception or an egoic identification that you have attained Christ consciousness without any fruits of your labor. And I'm not being offensive. I am just saying to you that in this duality, which is a lie, it's a delusion, it only exists in the mind of the construct. For the moment that the construct is taken away, the moment the illusion of duality is taken away or seen as the lie it is, non-duality and the truth exists regardless of its own accord. Your mind and your feelings, your consciousness, and just the fact that you think that there is a you that is choosing based on ego that perceives a higher self, or you think that maybe something is coming through you, that you, my friend, is you still being identified as an individual egoic identification lie. The awakening has been hacked, hijacked, because the construct cannot survive if the things, the intention, the energy which feeds it bypasses the programs and chooses its own intentions autonomously. Free will is much deeper than thinking your ego has a choice in matters when your options have been manipulated and played against you, so you will choose the one that benefits you most in a self-centered, egoic perspective. Now, beyond the consciousness, beyond the mind and the emotional body, even the energy, everything is energy, they'll say. Everything is consciousness, they'll say. Here in this dimension, this is true, but what the energy is a movement of intention. There's no ego here if you are serious about your awakening. In awakening, there's no your. There's a unity that exists, as I showed in my picture, beyond the delusion of duality. There's a singularity that exists of its own accord, an autonomy, a subtlety of the intention of the one whom is choosing action. Each singular moment of your present now is a valuable treasure that we neglect and waste once we allow the construct to control our awakening.